The stars above Varela looked quiet, but everyone on the colony knew it was a lie. The Drexari ships had been surrounding them for days. Their glowing red engines burned in the night sky like angry eyes. The people of Varela were tired, scared, and running out of time. Commander Ethan Brooks stood at the command center. Watching the defense screens, he was a tall man with tired eyes. His fingers tapped the console without thinking, a sign of nerves he could not hide anymore. Beside him stood Lena Hart, his second in command. She was younger, sharper, but her face now held the same hopeless look. "The shield generators are down to 20%, Lena said softly. "They won't last the night." Ethan nodded. He already knew, but hearing it made it real. They had sent out every signal, every call for help. Earth, the Council, nearby colonies. No one had answered. Not even a single message back. It felt like they had been forgotten, down in the colony. Families gathered in basements and old mining tunnels. The schools had been closed, power rationed, food supplies stretched thin. Children were told bedtime stories, not to make them sleep, but to make them forget where they were. Parents whispered lies of hope they didn't believe themselves. Ethan walked out of the command center for a moment and looked at the sky. He had grown up here on this dusty rock with 2 moons and red soil. It was never rich, never important, but it was home. Now he could only watch as the Drexari prepared to end it. Their ships moved slowly, like predators enjoying the fear of their prey. One more night, maybe 2, and then nothing would be left. He remembered the first Drexari attack, fast and brutal. The colony had managed to hold them back with old planetary defense guns, but they had no real weapons, just shields and courage. "Any luck on long-range scans?" he asked when he returned. Lena shook her head. "Just more Drexari ships entering orbit," she said. Still no help in the back of the room. A technician whispered, "We're not going to make it, are we?" No one answered. They didn't need to. Night fell, and with it came silence, the kind that made every sound louder. People lay in their shelters listening to the distant hum of Drexari engines. Some cried quietly, others stared at the ceiling. Wide awake, in a small shelter, a little girl named Molly held her mother's hand. "Will the stars help us, Mommy?" she asked. Her mother smiled, her eyes wet. "Maybe," she said. "Maybe someone is out there watching." She didn't believe it, but she had to say something. Back in the control room, Lena noticed something strange. A flicker on the outer scanner. Not a Drexari ship, but something else, smaller, too far to be sure. She leaned closer. "Commander," she said, "there's a signal, but it's faint, like something hiding in the dark." Ethan moved fast. "Trace it. Get me coordinates. Boost the signal if you can." The signal vanished. Just as quickly as it came, Lena looked disappointed. Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Even shadows can carry hope," he said. "At the edge of known space, past broken satellites and abandoned trade routes, something stirred. A silent ship powered by old fusion and human defiance opened its eyes. Hidden for years, it had waited for a reason to wake up, and now it had one. In the cold dark between the stars, the warship Iron Will activated its engines. Its eye stirred, its lights came on, and its systems began to hum. There was no applause, no fanfare, just purpose. It had heard the voice of a dying colony, and it would answer on Varela. Ethan sat alone for a moment, looking again at the sky. He thought about the people he couldn't save, the promises he had made, the friends already lost. Then he closed his eyes, not in sleep, but in silent prayer. Lena looked at him. "Do you still believe someone will come?" she asked. He opened his eyes and gave her a weak smile. "I have to," he said, "because if I stop believing, then it's already over." Above them, the stars twinkled like they always had, cold and distant, but somewhere beyond the farthest one, something human was coming, not for glory, not for orders, but for them, in the dark edge of known space. Hidden among dead satellites and drifting rock, the warship Iron Will came alive. Deep within its armored hull, lights blinked awake. Energy flowed through ancient pipes, and the hum of power returned to its core. Captain Riley Moore stood on the bridge, watching the screens come online. Her short brown hair framed a face marked by years of battle and loss. She looked calm, but her eyes burned with quiet fire. She had waited too long in the shadows. Now at last, they had a reason to move. Solace, she said. Status? The voice of the AI came through the speakers, soft but clear. All systems operational. Reactors stable. Long-range scan confirmed distress signal from Varela colony. Hostile forces present in orbit. There was a pause, then the voice added, "No official response from Earth or the Council." Riley nodded. She wasn't surprised. "Then it's just us." The crew gathered quickly. Some had been soldiers, some engineers, some outcasts. All had once believed in something greater, and all had seen that belief broken. Now they followed Riley not because of rank or command, but because she never gave up on the forgotten. "We head to Varela," she said. "We're not going to save the day. We're going to make sure someone remembers they exist." The Iron Will wasn't large by modern standards, but it was fast and deadly. Built from the remains of 3 different ships, its hull was jagged but strong. Its weapons were a mix of old Earth tech and outlaw upgrades. It had no legal ID and no support, only willpower and fire. Engines roared as the ship broke free from the asteroid field. The stars stretched around them as they jumped into warp. Silence returning to the void behind them. Back on Varela, Ethan watched the skies through a cracked window. He hadn't slept. Lena brought him a cup of recycled coffee, bitter and weak. "The scanners haven't picked anything new," she said. "Maybe that signal was just a glitch. Or maybe it was a ghost," Ethan replied. He sipped the coffee, his eyes never leaving the stars. In the shelters, people were starting to lose hope. Some had begun writing final messages to loved ones. Others prepared for a last stand, makeshift weapons in hand. It wasn't enough, and they all knew it. Then something happened. Lena's console beeped. "Commander," she said quickly, picking up a warp signature, small but fast, coming from the outer rim. Ethan jumped to her side. "Show me." A blue light blinked on the screen, moving quickly toward the colony. Unlike Dressari ships, this one didn't follow standard attack patterns. It was weaving through debris and jamming signals as it came. "That's not Drexari," Ethan said, "and it's not Council either." The colony had no way to signal back without exposing their exact location. So they waited, tension building in every breath. The Iron Will exited warp within the system. Solace ran a quick scan. Multiple Drexari cruisers in orbit. Colony shield at critical levels. No defense platforms detected. "Understood," Riley said. "Weapons hot, shields up. Let them know we're here." The warship didn't wait. Plasma cannons lit the darkness, striking the Drexari ship from behind. The enemy was caught off guard, thinking the system already belonged to them. One of their cruisers exploded, debris scattering in all directions. The Iron Will moved like a ghost, striking again and again. It used asteroid fields for cover, its stealth tech flickering as it dodged return fire. On Varela, people looked up at the sudden flashes in the sky. Children pointed, and even the soldiers paused. It was like lightning had come to save them. Lena shouted, "Commander, they're fighting the Dressari. Whoever it is, they're helping us." Ethan's heart pounded. Then we're not alone. On the bridge of the Iron Will, Riley adjusted her aim. "Solace, blind their sensors. Keep moving. Don't let them regroup." The ship twisted between 2 Drexari vessels, releasing an EMP blast that shut down their targeting systems. Another plasma burst shattered the wing of a third, but the Drexari were not fools. They adapted quickly. 3 ships broke formation and began chasing the Iron Will directly. Their weapons powered up, and one managed to land a glancing hit. "Minor damage to outer plating," Solace reported. "Nothing critical." "Then hit them harder," Riley growled. Iron Will spun around and unleashed a railgun blast that split a Dressari ship clean in two. The crew cheered, but Riley stayed focused. We're not done, she said. They'll send more. This is just the beginning. The Drexari fleet began to pull back slightly. Confused and unsure, they had expected an easy victory, not resistance from a ghost ship, and down on Varela, hope returned, just a little. Molly looked up at the sky and smiled. "Mommy, the stars are helping," she whispered. Her mother cried. But this time, they were tears of relief. In the void, the Iron Will roared again, heading deeper into the fight. For the first time in a long time, someone had come for them, and the war was only beginning. The wreckage of the Drexari cruiser drifted through space. Its metal torn and glowing, the Iron Will moved silently behind it, using the debris as cover. Captain Riley Moore stood at the front of the bridge, her arms crossed, eyes locked on the voe. "Tactical display, they'll regroup," she said. "We bought time, not victory." Her voice was calm but firm. Solace responded through the speakers. "Drexari communication signals are weak but active. Reinforcements are likely within one cycle." Riley turned to her crew. "Then we use the time we have. Prepare to drop below radar. I want to get close to the colony, below them." Varela was quiet for the first time in weeks. The Drexari were holding off, uncertain. Ethan Brooks stood outside the command center, looking up. The sky had been full of fire. Now it was full of questions. "Lena," he said, "we need to find out who they are. If we can talk to them, maybe we can work together." She nodded. "We can try boosting a tight signal. Short burst, encrypted. No Drexari ears, just them." "Do it," Ethan replied. Above, the Iron Will hovered behind the colony's largest moon, its hull almost invisible in the darkness. Riley listened as Solace captured the sudden burst of encrypted signal. "Message received," the AI said. "ID code matches Varela colony." Riley stepped forward. "Play it." Ethan's voice came through, broken but clear. "To whoever you are, this is Commander Ethan Brooks of Varela colony. We are under siege. We saw your ship. You saved lives today, if you can respond." "We need to talk." Riley looked at her crew. "He sounds like someone who still has fight left. Prepare to respond. Send video." She stepped in front of the camera. "This is Captain Riley Moore of the Iron Will," she said. "We received your signal. We are not Council, not Earth Command, but we are human, and we came because no one else did. You hold the line, and we'll fight beside you." The message was sent, and a reply came faster than anyone expected. Ethan appeared on the screen, his face marked with dust and exhaustion, but his eyes sparked with something new. "Then welcome to Varela," he said. "We have people, but not enough weapons. Not enough power. If you have a plan, we're ready to listen." Riley leaned forward. "We don't have an army, but we have tech. If you let us land, we can link with your systems, boost your defenses, maybe even hack some of their ships from here." Ethan hesitated, then nodded. "Landing zone marked. We'll clear space." The Iron Will dropped low into the atmosphere. Its landing gear unfolded with a deep thud as it touched down outside the colony walls. People watched from windows and shelters, eyes wide with disbelief. The warship looked like something out of legend, scarred and dark, with symbols no longer used by Earth fleets. When the ramp opened, Rayleigh stepped out with two of her crew. Ethan and Lena met them, their hands tense near their holsters, but they did not draw. Riley held out her hand. "You look like you've seen better days," she said. Ethan shook it. "We thought we were done. Then you came out of nowhere." Riley gave a small smile. "We're always out of nowhere. That's what makes it count." They led her inside. Showing the old command center, Riley studied the screens, the power grid, the broken shield systems. Her crew got to work fast, opening panels and connecting uplinks to the Iron Will. Back in orbit, the Drexari had begun to reorganize. Solace monitored their signals. "Commander," it said, "enemy movement patterns indicate preparation for ground assault. They are not retreating." Rayleigh turned to Ethan. "We need traps, corridors, crossfire points. We can't fight them in the sky forever. If they come down here, we fight on our terms." "Lena." Added, we know the tunnels. We can rig charges, motion sensors. Block entry paths. Ethan nodded. We'll make them pay for every step they take. Children watched as strangers moved through their home, fixing what had been broken. Adults followed in silence, unsure if it was real or just another trick of fate. One older man muttered, "I thought Earth left us." Another whispered, "They did. These people came anyway, deep underground." Riley and Lena placed the final sensor in the main tunnel. It blinked green, active. "This will slow them," Lena said. Wiping her hands, Riley looked at the dusty walls. "We're not just slowing them, we're reminding them humans don't fold. Not without fire." Outside, night was falling again, but this time, it came with the soft glow of new defenses powering up. The Iron Will stood like a guardian over the colony, its weapons ready. In space, Dressari ships aligned in new formations. Their engines burned with purpose. The next wave was coming. And this time, the humans were ready. The sun rose over Varela with a weak red glow, casting long shadows over the colony walls. The night had been calm, but everyone felt it was only the calm before the storm. Children played quietly for the first time in weeks, while soldiers moved faster, preparing for what was coming. Inside the command center, Riley Moore stood beside Ethan, watching the updated defense grid. "We've done what we can," she said, "but the next attack will be worse than the last." Ethan nodded. "They know we're not broken anymore. That makes us dangerous." Down in the tunnels, Lena Hart and a crew of colonists finished rigging explosives near the main entrances. Old mining equipment had been turned into traps, pressure plates, and decoys. It wasn't pretty, but it could hurt the enemy. "The idea," Lena told the group, "is not to stop them all, but to confuse them, slow them, break their lines." Back in orbit, the Drexari commander's ship sent a series of pulses to its fleet. They had finished scanning the Iron Will and knew it was a threat, but they also believed it was alone. They didn't understand humans. The first Drexari assault came just after mid-morning. Sharp and sudden, 3 troop transports broke through the atmosphere, dodging plasma fire from the Iron Will. One was hit and exploded mid-air, raining fire into the desert beyond the colony. The other 2 dropped their cargo, tall armored Drexari warriors. Their armor reflected light like dark glass, and their weapons hissed with burning plasma. The colony's outer gates opened suddenly, drawing them into a kill zone. Plasma turrets activated, striking the front lines. The Drexari pushed forward anyway. Silent and brutal, Ethan led the first defense team, firing from cover with a rifle held tight to his chest. Beside him, Riley fired calmly, picking targets. "With precision, push them left," she ordered. "Let them think we're breaking." The Drexari surged forward, falling into the trap. A loud explosion shook the ground as they entered a narrow corridor. Tunnel walls collapsed behind them, locking them in. From above, colonists dropped firebombs, homemade but deadly. The screams of Drexari echoed through the passage. Lena, monitoring from a forward control post, called out over comms, "Second wave entering from the East Ridge. They have hover units." "On it," said Darrow, one of Riley's crew, launching a missile. From a rooftop, it struck the lead hovercraft and flipped it into a second, both exploding in fire. The battle became chaos, every corner of the colony turning into a war zone. Children and civilians were hidden deep underground, but even there, they could feel the ground shaking. In the Iron Will, Solace tracked movement patterns, feeding enemy positions into the colony grid. The ship fired support rounds from its railguns, blasting enemy drop zones and cutting off retreat paths. Riley moved like a ghost through the smoke and fire, never staying still, always adjusting the line. She stopped beside a wounded colonist, dragged him to cover, and handed him a medkit. "You stay alive," she said. "That's how we win." Ethan and Lena regrouped near the central plaza, panting and bruised, but still standing. "This isn't just defense," Ethan said. "We're pushing them back." Lena grinned through bloodied lips. Feels like the first real fight in a long time. Suddenly, the comms lit up with a signal. Not from the colony, but from orbit. Solace interrupted. Incoming transmission from unknown source, human origin. Coding is old but authentic. Riley answered quickly. Patch it through. The screen flickered. Then showed the face of a young man in a battered pilot suit. This is Carter from the salvage. Cruiser Valiant Echo, we picked up your fight and came to help. We're not armed for war, but we brought what we could. Behind him. Several more ships appeared in orbit, patched together like the iron will. Old cargo haulers turned into mobile gun platforms. Riley smiled, just a little. Welcome to the party, Carter. Let's light up the sky. The newcomers joined the battle. From orbit, raining fire on Dressari reinforcements trying to land. The enemy faltered, caught between fire from above and resistance below. On the ground, Varela's fighters felt the shift. The Drexari were breaking formation, pulling back, some even retreating toward their ships. Ethan shouted, "Don't give them space. Keep the pressure." The colonists pushed forward, driving the invaders back step by step, smoke rising all around them. By nightfall, silence returned to the colony, not peaceful, but victorious. Bodies were gathered, wounded tended, but the line had held. Riley looked out across the walls, smoke in the air, but stars above still shining. "We gave them a message today," she said. "Humans don't die quietly," and far above. More signals blinked across the void. Others had heard, and more were coming. Night settled over Varela like a heavy blanket, quiet and cold. But inside the colony walls, the air buzzed with something new. Victory, not total, not final, but enough to give the people something they hadn't felt in a long time: hope. Fires still burned in a few buildings. Smoke curled into the night sky. But laughter could be heard, quiet and cautious. Children peeked from shelters and families embraced. Ethan Brooks leaned against the shattered wall of the central tower. Bandaged and bruised, but smiling, Lena stood beside him, reloading her rifle. Her hands shaking just a little. "You think they'll come back tomorrow?" she asked. "Definitely," Ethan said. "But now they know we're not going quietly." Above them, the iron will hovered low in the atmosphere, acting as both watchtower and shield on its bridge. Captain Riley Moore stared at the tactical map. New ships blinking into her network. The Valiant Echo and 2 other human vessels had joined orbit. All battered, all unregistered, but all willing. "More signals from outer sectors," Salas said. "Another human group from the Tanis Belt is requesting coordinates." Riley raised an eyebrow. Word spreads fast. "Patch them in." Within minutes, a rough voice came through the speakers. "This is Captain Jonas Cade of the Dustborn. Heard someone lit a fire out here. Thought we'd bring some fuel." Riley almost smiled. "Bring everything you have, Captain. We're making a wall they can't ignore." In the colony, makeshift hospitals were set up in warehouses and homes. Riley walked through them with Lena, helping distribute supplies. Riley handed a blanket to an injured woman and knelt to speak to a child who had lost his father. "I know this hurts," she told him gently, "but your dad stood for something, and so will you. You're part of something strong now, stronger than fear." The boy nodded slowly, his small fingers clinging to hers. Outside, crews from the Iron Will worked alongside colonists, setting up new turrets using salvaged parts from downed Drexari ships. The colony had changed. It wasn't just surviving anymore, it was fighting back. That evening, as power flickered back across parts of Varela, Ethan called a council meeting. Leaders from the ships in orbit joined via hologram, and Riley stood at the head of the table. "The Drexari will return," she said. "With more ships, more fire. They don't take losses kindly. They see us as weak, scattered, broken. We need to prove them wrong again." Jonas Cade's hologram smirked. "Then let's give them a bigger surprise. How many guns do you have down there?" Lena answered, 20 working plasma turrets, maybe 10 drones. And we're turning an old mining vehicle into a railgun platform. Carter from the Valiant Echo added, "We have spare torpedoes, untested mods." And some I-nav drones we can repurpose, Riley looked at them all. Good, because we're going to build something the galaxy hasn't seen before. Not just a defense, a message, in orbit. The new allies began forming a protective net, repurposing haulers into shield platforms and fitting cargo ships with cannons. It was chaotic, scrappy, but it was human. Late that night, as Riley returned to the Iron Will, Solace pinged her with a private alert. Unknown transmission detected, it said. Sources Council military frequency. Scrambled code, hidden relay. Would you like to listen? Riley paused, then nodded. Play it. A voice came through, distorted and careful. To the captain of the Iron Will. I don't know if you remember me, but we served together at Vega 9. I'm not supposed to contact you, but people are talking. They know you're fighting back. Some of us never agreed with what happened to Varela. Keep doing what you're doing. You're not alone. Riley leaned back in her chair, a wave of emotions washing over her. She had thought the council turned. It's back completely. But maybe, just maybe, cracks were forming. Record and archive it, she said quietly. And lock the channel. We don't need spies yet. Down on Varela, Ethan walked the walls, watching the stars, one by one. Tiny human ships blinked into orbit. No banners, no uniforms, just resolve, he whispered to himself. They came from nothing, and still came for us. In the quiet night, the colony no longer felt like a dying ember. It was now a fire, growing, spreading, and across the stars, others were noticing. The skies above Varela were no longer silent. Ships now orbited the colony in a defensive web. Old freighters refitted into battle platforms, salvage ships covered in armor plates, and the Iron Will. Sitting like a watchful titan, Ethan stood on the colony's upper wall at dawn, the light catching the rough edges of makeshift turrets. Down below, workers were welding, fixing, building. Children were painting stars on the walls, a small act of beauty in a world of fire. Never thought I'd see it, Lena said as she joined him. A colony on the edge of extinction, becoming the heart of a fleet. Ethan nodded slowly. And it all started with one ship that refused to stay hidden, on the Iron Will. Riley Moore walked through the hangar where her team was testing new drone interceptors. Solace displayed a hologram above her head, showing the growing Drexari movement on the edge of the system. Enemy ships regrouping, the eye said. Patterns indicate they are preparing a concentrated assault within 48 hours. Let them come, Riley muttered. We'll show them what happens when you back humans into a corner. She moved to the briefing room where the fleet captains were gathered. Via HoloLink, Jonas Cade appeared with a scar across his face. Grinning as always, Carter looked less cheerful, his ship having taken damage from skirmishes in deep space. Status reports, Riley said. Jonas leaned back. Dustborn's holding steady. We refitted our engines with Drexari scrap, so we run hotter but faster now, Carter added. Valiant Echo has some hull breaches patched, but we lost 2 drones on the last recon, and their fleet is bigger than expected. At least 40 ships, not counting support. Riley frowned. They want to erase us before we become a symbol. Lena patched in from the surface. You're already a symbol. Half the outer fringe is talking about Varela now. Some say Earth will have to respond just to avoid losing face. But Riley didn't trust the council, not anymore. She had seen too many decisions made for politics, not people. We need to do something bold, she said. Something they won't expect. Jonas raised an eyebrow. You thinking what I think you are? We strike first, Riley said. Not just defend. We hit their forward command ship before they can organize. Cut the head off the snake, Ethan's voice came through. Firm and ready. If you give us coordinates, we can launch a ground-based missile. Strike sensed with your orbital attack. Plans were drawn. The system mapped. They found a Drexari command frigate hiding behind a gas giant, a mobile warbase directing their forces. At sunset, while the colony buzzed with nervous preparation, Riley walked the ground with Ethan and Lena, looking at the people they were trying to save. You ever think it's strange, Ethan said, How war brings strangers together faster than peace ever could. Maybe peace is built on what we choose to fight for, Riley replied. The next day, the plan went into motion. The Iron Will, Dustborn, and Valiant Echo moved out of orbit under stealth, leaving decoys behind to make it seem like they remained. In place, from the surface, Varela's engineers activated the modified mining launcher, now carrying a high-yield fusion-tipped missile. They had only one shot, target locked, Lena said. Waiting for signal from Iron Will, Riley's ship crept behind the gas giant. Shields low to avoid detection. They had to get close, too close for comfort. Enemy ship detected. Solace said, "Command." Signals confirmed. This is the hub. All ships, engage, Riley ordered. The Iron Will opened fire, railguns cracking the silence. The Dustborn followed with torpedoes. And Valiant Echo laid down a wall of ion blasts. The Drexari command frigate responded with brutal counterfire, slamming energy beams across space. From Varela, the missile launched into the sky like a silver comet, guided by an eye and hope as the Drexari frigate shifted to dodge. Riley made a call. Solace, overload our primary engine flare. Blind their sensors. The ship's engines flared white-hot. A sudden burst that stunned every scanner in the sector. The Drexari command ship turned the wrong way, and the missile hit. It struck deep into the frigate's core, and the explosion was seen from orbit. A bloom of fire and light that shattered the command structure. On Varela, cheers broke out across the colony. People hugged each other, cried, shouted. For a moment, the war felt winnable, but Riley knew better back on the Iron Will. Solace spoke again. Long-range scans picking up movement. Larger Drexari fleet approaching. Approximately 72 hours from arrival, Jonas cursed. They're sending everything now. Riley nodded. Then we give them something they never expected. We make our stand right here. The colony below was rising from the ashes. And above, the stars began to whisper. Humanity was awake again. 3 days passed like a heartbeat. The people of Varela didn't sleep much. They built, trained, welded armor, and turned old machines into weapons. The entire colony had become a fortress. Not of walls, but of will. In orbit, the sky was filled with shadows. Dozens of human ships floated in formation. Some were barely space-worthy, held together with scrap and faith. Others bristled with weapons, silent and ready. At the center of the fleet stood the Iron Will, still scorched from its last battle. Its hull patched but unshaken. Captain Riley Moore stood on her bridge, watching the stars as the Drexari fleet crept into sensor range. They were coming in force this time, not a raid, not a test. This was extermination. 81 ships confirmed, Solace reported. 3 command vessels, 20 carriers, and at least a dozen heavy cruisers. Riley nodded slowly. They brought everything. Jonas Cade's voice came through the comm. They think we'll panic. Maybe they're right. Carter from the Valiant Echo laughed. I haven't had this many targeting options since the Kairos debris run. Ethan joined from the colony's command center. The people are in place. Ground defenses are armed and cinched with your firing grid. We stand with you. Down on Varela. Families gathered in shelters, but they were no longer silent. Children sat with helmets too big for their heads. And elderly engineers explained shield relays while sipping recycled tea. Lena stood on the colony's wall, wind in her hair, watching the dark shapes in the sky grow closer. No fear today, she whispered. Only fire. The Drexari ships entered orbit without a word. Their lead vessel, twice the size of the Iron Will, loomed like a blade across the stars. Solace interrupted the silence. Incoming transmission from Drexari command ship. Text only. Riley read the message on her screen. Surrender now and be erased with dignity. She smiled bitterly. They still don't understand us. Then she opened the fleet-wide channel. This is Captain Riley Moore of the Iron Will, she said, her voice calm and steady. We are not diplomats. We are not politicians. We are the forgotten. The abandoned. The survivors. You came to break us. But we are already broken, and still standing. You want a war? Welcome to one. The moment her voice cut off, the stars lit up. Missiles soared from the colony. Turrets unleashed energy beams, and the human fleet surged forward. The Iron Will led the charge, its railguns tearing through the black, smashing into the enemy's front line. Drexari returned, fire blazed like a storm. One human freighter exploded into fire, another lost its left wing and spiraled down into the atmosphere. But they kept coming. Carter's ship darted between cruisers, leaving EMP mines behind, disabling. Drexari engines, Jonas Cade's Dustborn, slammed into a support ship, boarding its belly and detonating charges from inside. Riley gave order after order. Solace tracking every movement, predicting enemy shifts, firing precision bursts. On the ground, Lena triggered trap after trap. Drexari drop pods hit the surface only to be buried in flame and rubble. Ethan commanded teams from control towers, rerouting power to collapsing shields and calling out enemy flanks. They're trying to breach Sector 9. Someone shouted, "Redirect drones." Ethan called, "Riley, can you cover us?" "On it," she answered, and the Iron Will dove from orbit, unleashing a barrage that split the Drexari landing squad in half. The fight raged for hours, space and sky filled with explosions, burning metal and dying screams. Still, neither side yielded. Then something changed. Solace spoke suddenly. Unidentified signal approaching. High speed, unknown human frequency. Riley froze. "Show me." A single ship tore through hyperspace, bigger than most colony cruisers. Black and blue with sharp edges and glowing engines. "This is the Hammerfall," came a voice, deep and unmistakably human. Earth Command never responded, so we came on our own. Hope we're not too late. Gasps broke out across the fleet. Ethan stared at the screen. "I thought Earth didn't care." "Maybe some of them still do," Riley said. The Hammerfall opened fire, its weapons cutting through Drexari cruisers like paper. It wasn't just another ship. It was a symbol, a turning point. One by one, Drexari ships began to fall back. Realizing their momentum was broken, their command vessel turned, signaling retreat. But Riley wasn't finished. "All ships," she called. "Focus fire on their lead cruiser. They came to erase us. Let them carry scars. Together." The human fleet sent a final volley, piercing the command vessel and sending it into a slow, burning spiral. Silence returned. Not peace, but silence. The Drexari were gone. The humans stood, and across Varela, people rose to their feet. Bruised, burned, but alive. The stars had been painted with fire, and in that fire, humanity drew a line. Smoke still lingered in the skies over Varela, drifting slowly like ghosts from a long battle. The ground was blackened, walls broken, and the air smelled of scorched metal, but it was quiet now. The kind of silence that only came after a storm. Inside the control tower, Ethan Brooks leaned over a table covered in maps and status screens. Lena Hart stood beside him, her face bruised, her arm in a sling, yet her eyes burned with something bright. "We held," she whispered. "We actually held," Ethan nodded. "With help we never expected, and strength we didn't know we had." Outside, families emerged from shelters, blinking at the sun like it was new. Children laughed for the first time in weeks. People hugged, cried, and began clearing rubble. The war wasn't over, but this battle had become something greater. In orbit, the fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. The Iron Will floated at the center, its once proud armor scarred but still solid. On the bridge, Captain Riley Moore stared at the stars in silence. Solace broke it softly. "Incoming messages from multiple sectors," the AI said. "Colonies reporting uprisings, human settlements resisting. Drexari rule. Some are calling it the Varela line." Riley blinked. "We became a spark, didn't we?" "A fire," Solace corrected. One by one, other captains joined the feed. Jonas Cade grinned, his face wrapped in a bandage. "Looks like we started a war they can't control," Carter added. "Earth Command won't be able to ignore us now. They may not like how this started." but they'll want to own the ending. Let them try, Riley said. This belongs to all of us, not just the flags above our names. She opened a broadcast channel to the colony below. This is Captain Moore, she said. To the people of Varela, you were forgotten, but you stood. You were targeted. But you fought. Today, you didn't just survive. You changed the galaxy. In the colony, people stopped what they were doing to listen. Ethan looked up, tears in his eyes. Lena stood taller. And to every colony, every outpost, every hidden ship. Riley continued, Varela shows that you are not alone. No more silence, no more shadows. The line has been drawn, and we are still here. Cheers erupted across the colony. People raised their fists, shouted the names of those lost, and promised to carry their memory forward. Later that evening, a ceremony was held in the heart of the broken plaza. Makeshift flags were raised, not of nations, but of unity. Children carried lanterns, lighting a path through the rubble. Ethan spoke softly. We didn't ask to become part of history, but we will carry it well, for every voice that called for help and was never heard. This was for them. Lena stepped forward and placed a stone on a growing monument. One by one, others followed. Above them, the Hammerfall remained in orbit, watching, waiting. More ships began to arrive each day, drawn by the signal of resistance. Among them were engineers, medics, ex-soldiers, even a few former council defectors, who had seen enough. In a quiet corner of the colony, Riley stood alone for a moment, watching the horizon. Her ship was ready to leave, but her heart was still here. Ethan joined her. You leaving soon? Eventually, she said, but not until I know this place can stand without us. And maybe not even then. He offered a quiet smile. You started something you can't walk away from. You know, good, she replied, because I don't want to, later. On the Iron Will, Solace showed Riley one last update. Transmission from the outer edge of the Drexari Empire. It said, small human fleet attacking a weapons facility, led by a ship called the Flame Warden. Riley laughed quietly. Looks like someone else got the message. She turned to her crew. Set a course. We're not done. Not even close, the Iron will power it up again, its engines glowing as it rose from Varela. Below, people waved, saluted, and held onto the fire they had found in their hearts. The stars waited, and this time, humanity wasn't hiding. They were coming together.